Welcome to another episode of the Closers Klub. Today, I'm joined by Ty from Eagle Lines Movers. Ty is going to share how he got into the moving industry, what brought him to Boston, and all the lessons he's learned as a businessman along the journey. How you doing today, Ty?
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's really great to be here. The studio's amazing. Amy's amazing. And I appreciate you guys.
Love it, man. Thank you for coming in. So, Ty, tell us about your journey. How did you get into moving? Where were you born and raised? And how did you end up in Boston?
Yeah, so it's a long story, but I'm going to keep it short. I grew up in Israel. It's been in the news right now. It was a very different type of life. Grew up in around a farming community, so learned very quick the value of time, the value of taking care of animals, the value of taking care of your family, and really the value of money and what we get. You come here and now having kids here, in the Newton school system, and they're like, can I get this? Can I get that? Everything is kind of quick, right? Amazon, let me just press a button. It's going to be here in a minute.
Instant,
yeah. Right? And I really had to work for things. You want to get this, you need to do X amount of hours farming. You need to get up at 4 a.m. You need to come milk cows, and then you can go the rest of your day. So my life was really, I wouldn't call it challenging, but I would say that I'm very blessed and happy to have that. We all need grit. We all need to understand where things come from. And I think that kind of life, that connection to nature, to animals, to other people, really kind of gave me the tools to be able to be more independent later on in life. So coming here, I came in from a military background. I was in the military. I went in when I was 18. Got into special operations. Moved here. I was in the West Coast. What we did there was, I don't really talk about it too much, but I was a liaison, and we did some security work for the government. After that, I had a friend there. I decided that I wanted to go to school in Boston. I didn't really know where or what I'm going to do. Applied to a bunch of schools, applied to MIT as well. I got into the first step where I had an interview, so I had to come here anyway. We took one of those road trips. We had like an old Chevy Astra. Do you remember those minivans?
Oh, absolutely.
Those were amazing back then, but that one was a little raggedy.
Yep.
We drove it, cross country. We stopped in different places. I remember the first time that I, during stopping in Minnesota in the winter, having like your hand stick to metal because it's so cold, coming from
Southern California Israel, yeah,
and the same weather as Southern California. It's very similar.
Yeah.
That was those are the little things that you can't remember, right?
Absolutely.
Coming here to Boston, going through the interview process, learning about cost of things, right? When you come from a place where, whatever you have in the pocket is what you're going to have today or what you're going to eat today. Coming here and learning about credit. And you want to tell me that school is $50,000 a year, And I'm like, what are you talking about? I couldn't even understand the numbers.
Yeah. Yep.
And I wasn't, I wasn't like 12. I was already in my 20s. I was an adult, but it still seemed like a lot of money to me.
Absolutely.
I ended up going to Northeastern to the evening program.
Yep.
And working during the day. So I got a job as a mover. And that's really how I got into moving. A lot of time, the truck sometimes would drop me off with, the work clothes, right, go straight into class on Route 9.
Yep.
So I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it especially back then because I was interested in design, in architecture, and the way buildings were here. So I got to go into a lot of buildings. I got to see different furniture. I got to meet different people. Learning about the city too. Right now, when I came here down, I was like, oh, let me just put this address, beep, boop, boop, in Waze. I don't even have to think about anything, right? I can listen to a podcast. I'm just going to zoom in. You tell me to go out here. You're like, where am I? I don't know, but getting that Thomas guide or whatever, the map books that we used to have, right?
Yes,
And really
MapQuest.
learning, all the name of the streets, where you can't go, which streets are one way, learning about buildings. That was, that's invaluable. So I always, so I got my workout, so you can get all your demons out during the day, moving furniture.
That is true.
Yeah, learn about the city,
Yep.
and then go to school at night and kind of figure out what you want to do moving forward. And throughout that, I being in a place that was coming from school. We go to, as kids, we go to elementary school. We're being told what to do. We have to sit down. We have those neon lights above us. Then we go to I went into the military. So for me, military, I'm being told what to do, even though special forces is a little bit more lenient, but still, we have to work under a certain framework.
Right.
And then going to school to Northeastern, again, the fluorescent lights, and you sit in, you go in, and you're like, do I really want to be in an office for the rest of my life? Do I want to be in the corporate? Do I want to continue this? Or do I want to have fun with the guys on the truck and maybe move on from there, And that's really how I said to myself, okay, I'm in this business. I'm learning it. I know what I'm doing. I can see the potential because I'm the one who's getting the cash and the cards and the checks. I'm just bringing it to the office, but I know what things are being charged for. I know how much I'm getting paid.
Right. Yeah.
So I can see the potential here. And when you kind of learn how things work and you see it really from the bottom, kind of like starting as a dishwasher in a kitchen and kind of moving your way up, you can see the inefficiencies. So you know how you can make things better. You can think about it, right? And then I really decided that, it's time. I can do it myself. I can do it better. I can, for me, like being an adult or being more settled was like, I can get a dog now,
Gotcha. Yeah.
I got this amazing dog, she's, I gotta see it. She's still my screensaver.
Oh,
here.
man.
I've had her for 12 years.
Yep.
She passed
Beautiful.
away 2 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
And since then, I have other pets. Obviously I have 3 kids.
Yes.
And they're not, I'm married, but none of them are on the screensaver. It's still that dog. She was like my best friend.
Yep.
We went
in the beginning.
we went everywhere. And and the ability to bring her to my office, to take her out, to breathe some fresh air, to have that flexibility, to have that freedom, it's all about freedom at the end.
Yes.
I thought, yes, this is where I belong. This is what I need to do. So it's not necessarily about how much I love moving, because moving sucks, No
Yep.
one likes moving. Or how much I love trucks, or how much I love this, or how much I love that, It's more about how much I love my freedom, how much I like the fact that I can be responsible and accountable for anything that's going to happen. And that gives me that flexibility to say, you know what? And, with people like us, it's always like, I'm going to take a day off, but we never take days off, right?
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. We keep going, we keep thinking, we keep growing. But it's, in the same time, it's very liberating. It's liberating. It's rewarding.
Yep.
It's like everything you build, I never liked getting, I'm one of those people, I'm going to throw it on, but I know a lot of people love their birthdays. I never liked it. I was always like shy, introvert. For me, it was like, why are you giving me things? I need to earn it.
Yep.
What are we celebrating right now? Are we celebrating 21st century modern medicine? Like, what are we, that I'm alive? What are we celebrating? I understand if you're old or if you're a little kid and you're 2, congratulations. I'm happy. But I'm like, in my 40s, I don't need to celebrate birthday. I always tell my wife, you want to have a party? Throw me a party when we have no mortgage. That's a party for me, because I'm like, that's an achievement, the American dream. I own the house. The bank doesn't own the house.
Right.
That's my American dream. But
Yep.
so when you kind of break it down, it's like it's those rewards, right? We work hard and we are rewarded by our achievements. And, that's kind of the hustle, we do it, Rob, I see you work out hard, you raise a family, and you build. And if you see your child succeed, that's your reward too, because
Correct.
you help build it, right?
That's right.
You put whatever we put the time in, we can see it grow, right? We water it, we give it sun, we give it food, whatever it is, and I feel like it's in business, it's in life, and now coming into 10 years of owning the business and running it, we have time to take care of other things, right? And I know it's always about growth, but sometimes for me, I always looked at things and I was like, where's my limit?
Mm.
Where am I going to be content? People like us are never content because we want to keep growing.
Correct. Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, so I have this amazing property in Watertown. I can work, I can be very lean, but there's only a certain amount that I can expand. I can't put like 6 more trucks in there. They're not going to fit. So do I move west and build a bigger warehouse and get more trucks and people and get all this logistics heavier and costs are higher, and I can't really go and see my kids for lunch?
Right. Yeah.
Or do I want to stay where I am and be 10 minutes away and like venture into other things?
Gotcha.
Put the effort in other things that I can see, grow, and appreciate and be happy with. So for me, I'm very content where I am right now. I don't see a lot more growth specifically in that industry.
Yep. Gotcha, man. No, thank you for sharing, man. There's a lot to unpack in there.
Yeah.
A lot.
We can go on and on.
Yeah, no, hearing your story, Ty,
Yeah.
it's powerful to me that you grew up in Israel, you jumped into special forces, you came from Israel to America, obviously did some missions on the West Coast, then transitioned to college, transitioned to moving, and then transitioned to owning a moving company, right? It's a lot of transitions and stops along the journey of self-discovery, of your career and self-development. What gave you the courage, Ty, to realize that you could do that? Was it something, in how you were raised, you think at an early age you had a dream to come to America, a dream to excel, to go far, to build something? Kind of where was that born and what gave you the courage to do it?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, when you go to the military, they have this system of breaking you down and building you up.
Correct.
And when you go into special operations, you have to be very independent. You get those skills, and I am, right now in my 40s, I am going to be, I have to watch my words, but I'm going to be a chicken. I'm a chicken now compared to what I was when I was in my 20s, right?
I call it the kid effect, right? I was a daredevil until I had kids, man.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
Yeah. So it could be because we're a little wiser, right? We understand
right.
what's going on.
Exactly.
So, in your 20s, you can do a lot more, right?
Yep.
That's one. But second, it's however you grow up, how you get raised. I was blessed to have a supporting family. My father passed away. We had a very close connection.
Recently?
So it's already 8 years.
Wow. Gotcha.
And 9 years almost. But
yep.
We had a very close connection, and he taught me a lot about the value of, human interactions, friendships, being responsible and accountable, right? Something that we talked about.
Yes.
Being accountable for what you're doing. Once you get that, you can really do a lot more because you know your limits, right?
Right.
Because you know that anything that you're going to do, you're going to have to report back. And reporting back is not necessarily, I don't have to report back to a specific person. I report back to myself, and some of myself is my moral compass, right?
Yep.
I still struggle with, sometimes I don't sleep at night because I feel like, I said something wrong to someone, just a stupid reaction that I said to someone and I feel bad about it. They may not even notice.
Yep.
But it's kind of, it's our moral compass. And from that, I gained a lot of strength, a lot of courage. I brought in, like, I can show you, but I brought in this watch. I talked about it before,
I
right?
know. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about it to share the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my dad gave me a very similar watch in 1991. So Swatch made a watch that looked exactly like this. This is an homage that they just did. They came in with this series just this year,
Nice.
back to what they did in 91 when I was 11. And he gave me this first watch, and like I said, it really taught me the value of time, right? That responsibility, that accountability. I don't know how old you are, Amy, but when you look pretty young to me. And when we grew up, there was no cell phones, right? There were no smartphones. People had to rely on time. They had a watch, a wristwatch. So instantly, from being 11, you got elevated to adulthood because you had adults who never talk to you, ask you what time it is because they see you walking around with a watch, right?
Yep.
So you felt special. You felt important. And this is a chronograph, so I can. It has a timer in it, so I was able to time. Normally, I've said that before, but I mostly timed how long I can hold my breath under the water. But I would also be able to time stuff like how fast does it take me to get ready in the morning? How fast do I run with my backpack? And I apologize. I was a real nerd. And my saxophone.
It's all good, man. Yeah.
And my saxophone. It was really heavy, by the way.
Yeah. Yep.
From the bus home,
Yep.
So all those things that you start timing different things and you learn the value of time because it's, time is powerful. Time is everything, right?
It is, man. And
Yeah.
time is not money. People say time is money, but if you lose money, you can always get it back. If you lose time, you never get it back.
Never get it back. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Excellent. Cool, man. Let's talk about discipline, Ty. You have the military background. You're in business. You have a very purposeful personality, right? You're very intentional about how you operate and move. And how did that transition happen, right? When it came to you managing people in the civilian world versus the military world, right? Because I know we were talking earlier before we started filming here about just struggles that we have sometimes when things happen to people in life and it changes their ability to work consistently or the quality of their work. So did you ever face any challenges around having to adapt to building a team, versus kind of having the military mindset and background, or do you force people to kind of elevate and get in line with the vision that you have?
Yeah, I know that's a great question. I struggle with it till today, and I struggle with it at home too.
Gotcha.
My wife is like, "Your kids are not in the military." She does that all the time, and I have to remind myself that. And I have this, in the military, especially when you're a commander, there's something that's called distance. So you don't joke around, don't mess around with your subordinates. You keep it professional,
Right.
because you want to have that ability to have that authority, that respect. And I keep a lot of distance in my business, but that's also because I allow other people in the company to have those relationships. And that's what we talked about, right? You give people the ability to be responsible. You give them the tools to be independent. And then you know that they're going to take care of your client, right? Because at the end of the day, you take care of your employees. They'll take care of your clients. And your clients will take care of your family at the end of the day. That's kind of that circle, right?
Very true.
And for me, I struggle with it. I had a few incidents where I was a little rough with the guys just because I have high expectations. But I learned to kind of back off, step away, and look at things, with a kind of different lens, Not everyone's the same. This is just moving, We're not going to charge this hill right now. We're going to keep it in perspective. And I think perspective at the end of the day is the word, right?
Correct.
Perspective.
Perspective is powerful, man, because it allows us to step back and make everything relative to the goal. You know, and sometimes the goal does require extreme measures, right? And other times we back off a little bit, and we can give people a little bit more flexibility on how they achieve the goal. You know, that's, I think, a big part of my leadership style is really gauging who's who in the organization and what they're capable of. And I notice when people start getting flustered, it's typically because I'm pushing them beyond their limits. Although my limits, guys like us, we'll just keep going. It doesn't stop. It's like, all right, let's just keep going. But most people are not like that, and it was an adjustment for me as well. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because it's real. It's real, and as leaders, we have to adapt. We have to put things into perspective if we want to build teams that can deliver that value, kind of that circle and cycle you talked about. So, no, I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, 100%. Sure. Yeah, I mean, perspective is tough. You know, I don't remember who said that, but the hardest thing you ever do is the hardest thing you ever do.
Right.
Meaning that,
well said.
Yeah, meaning that, we all have a certain threshold of what we're able to take, what breaks us down, right?
That's right.
It could be someone breaking down from, I don't know, their birthday cake doesn't have the,
Spoken like a true father.
Yeah, did not come in the way you wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about like going to a birthday party and I saw a parent get very upset.
Gotcha.
That the delivery was not what they what they wanted, right?
Yeah, different perspective.
And
man.
You're like, your kid's healthy.
Right.
There's a cake.
Yeah.
All the friends are here. You have a beautiful home. What are you complaining about? Right?
Gratitude, man. It sounds like you practice gratitude.
I do, yeah. I don't practice titles. Titles are tough for me. I be like, okay, now it's going to be my 5-minute gratitude. I'm going to sit down and talk about all the things. I don't do that.
Daily practice, man. It's just a part of who you are.
Yeah. So it's that. And for me, like I told you about being a mover and getting the demons out, I do that. Like I get up early in the morning and I go ride my bike. I go outside.
Yep.
So first of all, I go outside. I get a perspective on nature. I told you, I'm very close to nature. I can see it.
Yep.
I can feel it. That already gives me perspective that anything else is not that big of a deal.
Great point.
Secondly, I work hard. Kind of like I push my limits on the bike. And then I know that by the time that I'm done, by the time everyone's in my household is up and I go down and make breakfast, the hardest part of my day is over.
Yep.
Now it's just a piece of cake.
All downhill.
Bring it.
Yep.
Yep. And it also grounds me. It's like, how those like people are like, don't talk to me until I have my cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm like, after my workout, we can talk.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
How'd you get into cycling?
So I was never, growing up in Israel, I was always doing the 2 cheaper legs of the triathlon. I would run and swim because we didn't have that much money. Cycling is an expensive sport,
Correct. Yeah.
But here, years back, a friend of mine, which I met at BNI, his son was diagnosed with cancer. And I talked to him, and, people don't know how to support when you have a younger child that has cancer, and what do you do? And
that's a great point.
Yeah. And we talked about the PMC, the Pan Mass Challenge, raising money for cancer. Because there's really not, I'm not a doctor. There's not, how do I help this child? And when you look back and you read about the evolution in cancer treatment and survival rates and all that coming from that money that's being raised, and we're blessed to be in a city that has the best hospitals in the world. And
Yep.
You go Dana-Farber Children's Hospital, and you see the impact, right? And he was like, I want to ride the Pan Mass Challenge. And I was like, I'm going to ride with you. I don't know anything about cycling. I don't really he's like, we're gonna have to ride 200 miles. I'm like, let's go.
Wow.
So we
Yep.
signed up together to a gym. We started taking spinning classes.
Yep.
And then we got bikes and we started riding.
Awesome.
And it was a journey in self-discovery of first of all, it's kind of nice to challenge yourself, try something new, right? Also getting involved with that that nonprofit and understanding the impact that it does and how many people are affected by it every year, and also see my friend, see him have a purpose, right? And working with him. And I think that that kind of made me go into the rabbit hole, right?
Yep.
So again, you mentioned that before, we don't stop, right? We start something. So then I was like, I got into competitive cycling, and how am I going to be the best, and comparing myself to people that are doing the Tour de France and racing on different platforms and seeing what level I can get. And 2019, I was in such good shape as far as being a cyclist, and it was just eye opening. It's eye opening because we get to our we get older, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We get older, but a lot of it is mindset.
That is so true. I mean, I know guys who are stronger at 50 than they were at 30, right? Or even in their 20s.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting because you don't hear that a lot. People don't talk about that a lot. But, obviously there are physical boundaries and physical limits to what the body can do, but the body can do far more than we know it can, just based on, us settling for the status quo, and a lot of folks really never pushing themselves to see how far you can go and how far you can take it.
Right.
Yeah, man. Are you still competing competitively?
No, hopefully I'm going to go back next year. We had my son Bodhi was born December of 22, and it's going to be 2 soon.
Congrats. Changes things. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's number 3 already, but he's
Yep.
He's awesome, and we have a special connection.
Yep.
Not that I don't have a connection with my 9-year-old, my 7-year-old, but I think that part of it, like we talked about earlier, once you build your business to a certain level, because when I had my son, it was 2015. My business was fairly new.
Right.
I had all these goals, but not just goals. I just, it's a struggle, right? The first couple of years,
it is.
You build it. You just bought a building. You're trying to make sure that that your employees are happy, that you have all the systems and processes, and you're also building system processes in the house, right? First kid, you don't know anything.
I can relate, man. That was a journey, right? There's
Yeah.
no book. They have books, but there is no book on how to do it for your family
Right.
and your lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and then my daughter came very soon after my son. They're not exactly Irish twins, but
Pretty close.
Scottish twins, I guess.
There you go.
I don't know how you call it. But my wife's part Scottish, so I can say it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a blur, right? And we had very designated roles in the house. And you grow up and you realize, do I want to have that connection with my kids? And I have it with my older kids, although they have, we have it around their activities. My daughter with jiu-jitsu, which I told you that we do jiu-jitsu. And,
Yes.
And my son, is on the spectrum, so he's into coding.
Nice.
He's very, very
Yep.
intelligent, but so the connection is very different,
Mm-hmm.
But with Bodhi, my younger son, it's just this bundle of energy, and I think we're the same person.
Yeah.
And he, I watched this on Instagram, this mom that's how she gets out of bed, not to wake up her son, that she just kind of to crawl out of bed,
Mhm.
just to make sure that he doesn't wake up. That's what I got to do to get up to cycling, because if he'll open in one eye, 4:15 in the morning, he's up.
Yeah.
Let's go, So
Yep.
right now, I work out, but I try to spend time with him before I go to work. and I spent a lot of time with him after work. So you put yourself a little bit, you put your goals, your personal goals, a little bit on the back burner to kind of put time into the family.
To the kids, yeah. No, it's funny, Ty, because I have the reverse now, right? My kids are all older.
Yeah,
My youngest is 9, well, 10, excuse me, 10, almost 11.
yeah,
She'll be 11 soon. And I have 2 teenagers. One of my kids is gone. She's at boarding school. So the first one's already out of the house, which is nuts. So it was a long time of juggling just so many activities and really the business in some capacity taking a back seat. Now for me, it's like, all right, now it's at the forefront to really give it everything I got to grow it and take it to as far as I can take it, right? I personally, I try not to speak in terms of limits because I think when we talk about limits or even goals, right, a peak to a goal, it really stops us from the transformation that we can attain by just continuing to move. And as you said it earlier, it may be something different than what you're doing now, right? You're in your moving company, but you're looking at where you're at and looking at how you can take what you've learned and apply it in another capacity. So, I definitely can relate, man. Definitely can relate on that front.
yeah.
Yep.
That's amazing. You have a son who's an athlete, right?
I do. My son is 16. Yeah, he's a professional soccer player.
That's incredible.
Yep. Started very young. So a lot of years of being a soccer dad, traveling all over the U.S. and even Europe at times. But yeah, it's been a very rewarding journey to see it come to fruition, man. A lot of sacrifice, but it's all worth it. Definitely
That's
all worth it.
amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
And he plays for.
New England Revolution Academy. So, well, he's on the second team now. So he's rostered with the second team. And yeah, the next stop for him will either be college, the school's looking at him, or going pro and foregoing college, right? And then you see some kids do a 1 year in college to start, and then they keep the eligibility for up to 10 years, but they come back and continue pro. So we'll see how it all shakes out, man. But yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool. Question for you, Ty, relative to the business side of things. Modeling. I know you had shared in the past, how you structured your business from a logistics perspective, and really looking at the industry standards and going to the top of that, right? Looking at the top players like UPS, FedEx, and things of that nature. Talk a little bit about your business model and essentially where it came from, like how you came up with the concept of how you operate, man, because I was pretty fascinated by how you run your moving company, because in our minds, we're like, oh, just get a truck, load it up, just don't break anything and get it to where it's going. But it's a lot more complex than that, correct?
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, congratulations on your son.
Thank you.
I think that shows a lot about your character, and you kind of instill in this principle, right, of being consistent. Consistency.
Yes.
With talent, you can go really far, right?
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point, man. Appreciate that. But yeah, no, that's been a part of it, man. The consistency, the patience, and just so many different pieces that come with that puzzle that as a family we had to commit to, and him specifically as a young kid, he had to figure out on that journey as well. And it wasn't always a straight trajectory this way. It was some ups and downs and questions and not sure if this is the path he wanted to go, but he is all in now. Like, there's no doubt, no question. And it's been amazing to be a part of that journey.
That's incredible.
Yep.
Very inspiring.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So to your question, so, obviously, when you take a truck, when you take a U-Haul, you don't think about anything, right?
Right. Get that U-Haul loaded up and get out of here.
Exactly. So when you build those systems and processes, you have to look at, obviously profit margins, when you have a business, and you have to learn where you're bleeding.
Right.
And the best way to learn it is to really look at bigger outfits and see where are the efficiencies? How can they be very lean? And for me, it was very important. So for me, it comes from how we park our trucks in the morning, how the materials are organized. The fact that I told you that I don't want to move out of where I am now in Watertown because I save so much money on labor and on fuel and being able to be close to the city and serve my clients. And now when I look at it on the interstate side, because we do international moves, we do a lot of national moves, we have 18-wheelers, we look at how we can be efficient. So efficiency is access capacity. How do you utilize the space that you have in a truck to make sure you're always full? So that has to do with connection with other companies, how we plan our route, where do we put items and how the compartments in the truck, because our trucks you can access from any point. any side. You can get into the truck, you can pull something out. So that gives you a lot of flexibility. So even if you moved something out from the middle of the truck, you can easily fill that gap back up where you are.
Very cool.
Yeah, and learning from UPS, for example, what you mentioned. So I always come up with that example. UPS do not make left turns. I don't know if you knew that, but because when you come to a left turn, you have to idle, right? You have to idle the light. But if you only make right turns, you can just stop and make the turn, right? So you save so much labor hours when you look at a macro and the amount of trucks that they have and labor hours. You save time, you save fuel, you save emissions, and you become a lot more profitable. And that's kind of the bottom line. And I talked about it now with industries like ours. You're in real estate. So when you look at interest rates that went up, you look at prices that went up, you look at the fact that people are, it's affordability. So we have inflation. People are less able to afford to move, It used to be, my neighborhood was always about moving up, I live in West Newton Hill, which is like an historic neighborhood in Newton next to the high school.
Yep.
And, you start at the bottom and you keep moving up, right?
That's right. Bigger, bigger.
And now it's hard to do because you look at the rates, you look at the price. Even though you can sell your home for a lot of money, going up, it's suddenly with those rates, because you probably locked in at 3% or sub 3% rate.
Correct. Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Yep.
And for us, we have an impact in our business. So I looked, how can I be more profitable with the same amount of clients? So you look at case studies, right? And that's what we talked about. And I can give you a case study from a company who's not even related to moving, and that's Colgate. So Colgate came up with this thing, and, as a kid who was growing up in the 80s, I remember the hole of the toothpaste was very small, right? You would like press a little toothpaste. And they just made the hole bigger and bigger. Now that hole is pretty big. When you press on that, like you have bucket. Toothpaste everywhere, right? You don't really need that much. But they realized that you're just going to use 40% more toothpaste.
Yeah.
If you have that bigger hole.
Crazy.
And
what a story, man.
By just increasing it by like 3 or 2 millimeters, right?
Yep.
And it's the same thing, but the same amount of clients, your profit margin suddenly went up by 40%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boom. And that's kind of what we did with Eagle. We're like, okay, so who can afford to move? What's going on with COVID? Where are we now? Now when you buy a home, right, when you look at a renovation, everything is marble. Everything is high-end. Everything is luxury. There's no starter's home anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's all very, very luxurious. So it becomes elevated. So people need money to be able to afford those homes. And right now you kind of see the gap. So most of the people that do move have money. So it's big homes, luxury condos, penthouses, et cetera, and we want to serve those clients. So we figured if we can offer more packing services, get more money on insurance, get more money on storage, we can raise our profit margin on a single client because we can give them more services and we can elevate our brand. And that was part of the rebranding, part of what we did. You kind of see where the market shifts, where it goes, right?
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. Wow, that's powerful. Have you guys seen a lift, obviously, in sales and everything post-COVID with the transition and with the new initiatives?
100%.
Wow.
And
even though there's less moves, but you guys are obviously finding a way to be more profitable.
A lot more efficient.
Wow.
A lot more efficient. So, like I said, it's not, growth can come in different ways, right?
That's right.
And you can see like, okay, I'm going to trim the fat. Let's see where the fat is and trim it, which is what a lot of companies do when things are tough, right? And when you're in shipping and when you learn about global shipping, you really own into it, And I don't know if we have time, but, we can even go into the startup we had in the tech and That's a whole different story.
You have a startup? I didn't even know you had a startup,
Yeah.
man. This is news for me.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, we're both BNI members. So,
Yes.
Jerry Facey, you know Jerry Facey, right? So
Yep.
his nephew was a BNI, and he's a freight forwarder. He does like LTL, so less than truckload shipping.
Gotcha.
And we came with an initiative of a startup of how to essentially be more efficient on last mile deliveries for furniture.
Wow.
And we had this crazy idea, and we went and we actually pitched it in a startup competition. It was a Microsoft competition at one of the MIT buildings.
In Cambridge.
And we
Right over
won.
there. You guys won it.
We
Congratulations,
won.
man. Wow.
We won. We got into Mass Challenge.
Yep.
And that was an amazing journey. So
Nice.
just to learn, get into tech, get into the architecture of tech,
Yep.
learning how to build a company, getting, it was that big that, the global freight CEO of FedEx
Yes.
set up a meeting with us.
Wow.
To kind of learn about our model.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So all those kind of nuggets, all that journey, you kind of learn more. You learn about yourself, but you also learn about business. You learn about how people approach things, and you learn about efficiencies. And, now everything is moving to tech, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yep.
So we were, pioneering the whole self-learning, but now it's AI. AI is, everybody's AI. But I'm not as versed as I want to be in it. But that's kind of the next thing that I'm looking into. Because now when we're rebranding, that's part of being efficient. AI can do a lot for you.
That is correct, man. Are you guys still using that tech? Did you license it out, or how is it helping your business?
So I'm using it in-house.
Okay.
To help me be more efficient, to help me be in contact with other shippers.
Yes.
One thing that I saw part of that last mile delivery, where I can see it really helping now, is big groups like Wayfair, like other furniture outfits, do not have the ability to get you an item when you need it.
Yes, when you
Right?
need it is the key. Correct.
When you need it. So
Right.
things can come to our warehouse, and we can act as the last mile delivery.
Wow.
Because it doesn't matter how well you innovate your robotic system of picking up a piece, kind of like Amazon putting in the box. Even if you have a self-driving truck that will drive it across country, you're still going to need people to bring it into your home and set it up.
Correct. Yep.
We're still, I think we're still leaps and bounds before the Terminator comes in and like put the couch together for you, right?
Right.
I think we still have some time. So
Yep.
software is always like much more innovative and forward than the actual robotics, the actual mechanics of it. So at least, lucky for me, we're still needed as humans.
for many, many years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. So, Ty, what's next for you? Is it going to be something on the tech side? Is it going to be real estate? Like, obviously, you've got an idea of where you want to go with the business. But just curious if you don't mind sharing, like, kind of what's the next move?
Yes, I mean, we're in the business of real estate, right? Warehouse is real estate for your stuff.
Correct.
Thank God people are attached to junk. Otherwise, right?
Yep.
Put things in storage, and
the checks keep coming in. Right?
That means you probably don't need it, right?
That's true. That's true, man. Yeah.
But we do help a lot of people who are in transition. Because, you sell a home and you don't have a new home, or you're in transition and you're going to store it.
Yes.
And especially now, I'm kind of going off subject, but a square foot in our area is so expensive that you go into a home, everything is finished, right? It used to be when you go down to your basement, your dad had like a workbench and a place to put your bikes and your Christmas junk, right? Or whatever, And now everything's finished. So you want to live in that space. You don't want to use space that you paid $500 a square foot to 1,000 square foot for storage.
Right.
So storage is always going to be needed. People need storage, especially with those prices, right? So maybe you're going to live in a smaller place and store your kayak and come and get it in the summer.
Yeah, the seasonal items.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that because a lot of people don't realize this, but self-storage or storage in general is some of the most profitable and highest grossing real estate out there, right? One of the highest grossing real estate models out there. And it's interesting that you see it, you live it, you're doing it, but there's a huge opportunity if you can figure out how to operate the storage side. And that's the piece people miss. It's easy to find a lot and build this facility and think, oh yeah, it's easy, just build it, people will come, but that's not the case. And as you talked about earlier, it's about the efficiency side. It's about the model that you bring to that to really turn it into a profitable venture. And the fact that you have that piece, that's the hard part. Identifying the opportunity and getting it out of the ground is a lot easier. So that's pretty cool, man. Are you planning regionally or other states, or you locally?
I mean, it's more about changing the model, like looking at what the model is.
Got it.
We talked earlier about what kind of clients do we serve? What kind of clients do we want to serve? So you have to identify what kind of storage they need.
Makes sense.
So it's upgrading. It's more of the temperature controlled.
Yep.
Fine art storage, things that the profit margins are much higher on them.
Yes.
And there's also a lot less availability.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you cannot find them. They're more niche, but when you're in a global city like Boston, those niches are needed, you know?
Yes. Yep.
And a lot of time, because one of the things that happens when every time there's a financial boom, suddenly you go out, you're going to throw a rock, you're going to hit a mover, or you're going to hit a realtor, or you're going to eat a flipper, or I don't even know what.
Everyone's just entering the market like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
got it.
So one of the challenges in businesses like my business is that the barrier to entry is very low.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can just get a U-Haul, right?
Right.
But how do we, first of all, make it a profitable business, which is very difficult, especially with transportation, which is notoriously a low margin, business. And secondly, how do we make it sustainable? So sustainable is, build those system and processes, build your name, build your reputation, do good work, and show up on time. And that's kind of circling back to, talking about time, the value of time. One of the things I learned, working, calling other blue collar services, people don't show up, right?
Right. Yep.
You can call a plumber, he doesn't show up.
Yep.
It's so frustrating.
Correct.
I had an appointment yesterday at 1:00. I was supposed to meet a contractor to look at something. Didn't show up. Didn't call me.
Wow.
And
Yep.
It's not that I get upset. I just I feel sorry for the person. I'm like, you show up on time. That's already, if you know what you're doing, it's 90% in the bag.
Right. You got the job.
You got the job, right?
Yep.
And for us, with moving, and I think that's kind of where the real value comes, because we're not serving only the client, the end client, the person who's moving. We're serving the realtor. We're serving the mortgage broker.
Yep.
We're serving the closing attorney, because they trust and they know that when Thai company shows up, it's on time and the house is going to be clear for inspection.
Correct.
And they know that if they call me at 9:00 at night and say, listen, my client said he's going to do it himself, and now it didn't, and things need to be out that morning, I got their back.
Right. Just like you did for me, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say this to them, but you recently helped us move some stuff from one of our houses to our main house. And, man, what an awesome experience. Said, yes, we'll do it. Your guys were on time. They were early. Got it done. Super friendly, super polite. And it was frictionless. It was pretty awesome. And we used other companies in the past. And I can tell you, we did not have the same experience.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate your wife, Elizabeth, and service. And like you said, kind of the stuff that you learn from growing up, from planning, from the military. If I can get the guys, if I can talk to your wife and she can send me pictures of all the items and how it's labeled, and if I can talk to the movers before or have one of my guys talk to them and show them everything, they know what to expect, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yep. And that's exactly what happened, man. So
Yeah.
very cool.
So it's a two-way street. It's we set expectations for ourselves, but we also setting expectations for the client, right? I think that's where a lot of things fall, right? In business in general, in life in general, right? Because
Yep.
the expectations are not set correctly.
Well said. Beautiful, man. Last two questions, Ty. And I appreciate this, man. This was an awesome conversation. I learned a lot about you, learned a lot about your process, and I'm sure my listeners and viewers are going to get a lot out of what you shared for sure, man. It's a lot of wisdom there. Reflecting back on your career as a young businessman, and you're still a young businessman in my eyes, for sure. Us 40-year-olds, we're not over
Right.
the hill yet. But what advice would you give to your younger self, if any, that you feel would have made a difference in not necessarily the journey, but how you dealt with, some of the challenges you faced along the way?
Yeah. So giving advice to my younger self, that's a tough question, right? But I think, there's two things. First of all, try everything.
Mm,
Dare to try. You're not, when I got out of the military, I felt like I was kind of behind because I saw all those young kids in college, right? So like, oh, I'm so behind. You're not.
gotcha.
You got time.
Yeah,
Time is valuable. You got it.
that's
Like,
that's great advice.
you can you can start riding a bike when you're 40. You
Yep.
can go to school when you're 30 and change your profession. And you can you just try things, travel the world. Don't be stuck in that box, right? We get like, I always tell, I give this like really silly anecdote from that I use in moving, but I'm like, sometimes you have to get out of the box to see that it's made out of cardboard, right? Right.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, we get stuck in this, like, I was talking to Amy. I was like, oh, I usually stop in Boston, but I'm like, or, you'll feel like, I'm in the South Shore. This is it,
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, this is not even, there's
Yep.
a whole world out there,
Yep.
So, travel, see what you like, just go for it, go for it. And
Yep.
if it doesn't work, if it fails, I failed multiple times. I failed miserably.
Yep.
You learn from it.
We all have.
And
Yeah.
we're all going to fail,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there's a few people who succeed, but right away, but failure is good. It's a learning curve. You got to keep pushing, got to keep going. What I would say about my younger self, I think that, missed opportunities, I would have, it's more personal, but I would have wanted to spend more time with my dad, with my family,
Yeah.
because you see how valuable it is.
Yes.
And I was going after it,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was going after it. I was like, I moved to a different country. I ventured. I wanted to succeed. I know he was proud of me, but spend time with your family. You
Powerful.
can't take that back. Yeah. And now that I have children, I take that into account. That's one of the reasons I put other things. I put business aside. I put all those great networking events that we can go to in the evening, because I'm going to have dinner with my family every night.
Right.
And those are things that my kids are going to remember for life, and that no one can take away from us.
Love that, man. Wow. It's a lot in there, and so true. Thank you, man. Last question. This is more on a lighter note, man. It's any hidden talents or hobbies or something most people don't know about you that you're comfortable sharing?
Hidden talents? No, I don't have any hidden talents. But,
Gotcha.
we talked about it. I love cycling.
Yes.
I like jiu-jitsu. I
Yep.
had a few injuries this year, but I think it's, we know Josh we go to the same place.
Yes. Yep.
So I think it's all about challenging ourselves, and I'm always open to kind of learn something new and get into it. The problem is, with people like us, one of the reasons I haven't picked up golf is because I'm afraid I'm going to get too much into it.
Yeah.
And my wife will be like, I will
Right.
divorce you.
Yeah.
You're
No,
always on the course.
It's hard, man, because I played golf. I started playing 2 years prior to having my first child, my son. And I really got into it, man. I was loving it. Had my first kid, and there was no way I was going to be spending 3-4 hours on a course on a Saturday afternoon or morning or Sundays. And so that was kind of the end of that. And now I'm at a stage in my life where I am going to revisit that. But yeah, you're correct, man. It's just, we go all in, we commit, and, we want to be good, right? It's just extreme. I won't say obsessing over it, but owning whatever we do, which is really, really powerful and what it takes to succeed. So, nah, man, love this, Ty. This was awesome, man. Appreciate you sharing. One hidden talent I'll share with you. I don't know if you know this. In a former life, Gaetano was a magician.
Yeah.
He shared that on the show.
He's talked about that before. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that,
his
man.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, and he was spotted in Southie. A girl he saw at one of the restaurants over there, local taco, I think, was like, "You were the magician at my 10-year-old birthday party."
Incredible. What about yourself?
Something, I guess I'll share like a quick one, and you'll hear about this on Friday when I'm sharing. But I used to get paid to sing at weddings in college.
Wow.
So a lot of folks don't know that, but I was big into music theory, writing music, playing music for 10 years.
That's incredible.
As a kid. But yeah, I got out of it. Once I was 18, I still did it in college a little, but after college, this was like, all right, business, kids, family. All my kids have played instruments and, played music. And for me, similar to what you said, I wish when they were younger, I spent more time with them on the musical side of things, but I was just so focused on building the business I really couldn't give it, the energy and effort that I wish I could have, because it's something I loved to a point where I was planning, a part of my career path was to be a professional musician. Coming up as a kid, I thought about it, but, I didn't grow up with means. We struggled, and I'm like, I do not want to be a starving artist. And so that was really what pushed me to jump into the business side of things. But yeah, that would have been a very viable and rewarding career path for me because I loved it. I really loved it as a kid. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yep.
You have a really good voice.
Thanks,
just
man.
When you talk.
Appreciate it.
It's
I don't know if my
deep,
singing
but
voice.
It's also kind of sweet.
Yeah. I don't know if the singing voice is as good as it was because like anything, you got to practice. But no, I had some good times, man. Definitely.
I always wanted to know how to sing, but
yeah.
I like, you're going to ask who's choking the cat. So I'm like, nah.
Never too late.
I'm a good listener.
Good stuff, Ty. Well, now this was awesome, man. So Ty, I definitely want to plug the brand, man. Eagle Lines moving with Nitai Gur here. Ty, first one to bring me some merch, man. Appreciate it. Let me throw this cap on here. And how can folks connect with you? I can't really put it on with the headphones and look cool, but it is what it is, man. How can folks connect with you out there?
Right. So you can always go to eaglelines.com. That's our website. And just look me up. I mean, I'm always available. If you email me at tigur@eaglelines.com, I share my cell phone with everyone because I want to be available.
Wow. Powerful, man. With all the clients you have, and that is commitment and dedication, man. Be careful, man. I don't know how many people are watching this, man, but your phone lines may get blown up there.
It's all good.
Love it, Ty. No, thank you so much, man. This was awesome. Appreciate you coming on.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Rob. Thanks, Amy.
That's a wrap.